Hello and welcome to January 19th, 2023. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. It's something that I do each and every morning shortly after waking up. It's now 4:37 a.m. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles and to plan for the coming day. I also use this time to reflect on how I did over the last 24 hours, including last night's sleep, or lack thereof. So beginning with last night, I slept well. Actually slept until the alarm. That's the second night in a row. Wow. That's interesting. Means my brain's leaving me alone. Come on. Although my dog wants me. Come on, buddy. Come on. Here we go. All right. Other than that, the day went really well yesterday. That's probably why I slept well. In terms of work, just powered through my responsibilities, my various meetings, etc. Very calm and collected mind yesterday. Even I had one difficult meeting where the team was rather riled up, and I just it was activities happening a little above my head. And so I didn't need to necessarily be too involved. It was, even though I'm one of the project managers, well, it's a team of project managers, so we're all project managers in that case. It's a PMO operation, project management office thing. So it was all about executive level vision, so which is outside of my purview. I just sat there and quietly, excuse me, quietly waited for to be needed. And it turned out I wasn't needed too much in that particular meeting. So that was interesting. I found myself strangely at peace. It's the type of thing that even if I'm not necessarily, if it's outside of my scope of my responsibility or control really, because I like to, how do you say this? I don't shirk responsibility. I look for ways to contribute, even if it's outside of my scope of reach. With that said, then the activities that were happening at that higher level, the anxious activities up there, should have impacted me more, but they didn't. I stood by, calm, collected, and inserted my 2 cents, so to speak, at the appropriate time. And I was like, wow, who's this guy? Wow. I think this might have something to do with the script writing that I'm doing, which I do actively throughout the day now. Forecasting meetings, how I'm going to behave in those meetings, how things are going to go, with an understanding, keeping the bullseye aim in mind that they may not always go that way. But I find, as Juan taught me, that visualizing the outcomes seems to lead reality in that direction in a way. So much for free will? I don't think so. I still think free will is an illusion. I think the universe at large is prompting me towards those ends too. Okay, I'm mixing a lot of stuff up now. I just had a good day yesterday, and I had a good day before, and I am anticipating a good day today, even though today's going to be have a lot more challenging meetings today. I can do them. You know what else really did the job? I think this is probably what had a huge impact. There was a new position coming open at work, and I was, it would be a promotion if I was to apply for it and get it. And I was talking to Yumiko over our dog walk last night about it, and we were just looking into the various things. And I took a look at my retirement calculator, and I realized some important stuff about how that wouldn't really make a difference. But then took just a look at lay things out, and I was realizing, I could retire now. I could leave now. I could leave comfortably at the end of this current year, 2023, and fly off to Japan and just retire away. I know that's if done incorrectly, that could be a death sentence. But realizing that I am now within shot of retirement really eased my mind. It's like, yeah. I bet that's probably the main factor that helped me to sleep last night. I think that might have been it. Doesn't mean I'm going to indeed retire that soon. I think I'm going to, well, I know I'm going to stick around at least long enough to see Emily out of school in a good, have her career started and safely settled. I don't want to abandon my daughter struggling in the United States. So I could be here for several years hence, or yet is the right word. We'll see. But anyway, good day yesterday, good peace of mind, good self-control. I like the way things are going, and I think the main changes are the script writing trick that I'm using now, taught to me by Juan, and the active effort of thinking about and deliberating on what happens each day and throughout the day. Like I was just now getting ready to sit down and do this, and I've got 2 difficult meetings today, and I was panicking. Well, I wasn't even panicking. I wouldn't even let my mind get that far. I began the moment of my mind running away, saying, what if, and I just took control and said, okay, these are how these 2 meetings are going to go down, and I laid it out, and I know that I can make them go down that way. So then my mind was at ease. All right, there you go. That's all that. Let's talk now about the good life. Let's do the 7 objectives and 34 principles. But first, a sip of my coffee. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. To have my life in a good, sound, stable situation. And if not stable, at least as settled as I can with regard to my affairs, my human relationships, and my life's work. And these are all exactly where they need to be in that regard. So that's my first objective is met. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste a moment yet of my day, of my life. And I think I'm doing that. I'm making very good use of my days. I'm squeezing a lot of goodness out of them. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. And I do that every day by making a deliberate effort to do this particular exercise, the recitation of the Good Life Creed. And you can tell, if you look at my YouTube or my blog, how I've been doing, because if you see a little asterisk at the end of the title, that means that was one where I did a good job. If there's no asterisk, that means I raced through it. And it wasn't at the level that I would expect. So far in 2023, I think every one of these has had an asterisk next to it, which means I'm doing a good job. I'm taking the effort to not do the lightning round. I came close with one day. There was one day I kind of remember I started to race through it, but I caught myself. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who reacts well to challenging situations and doesn't fly off the handle. I think I've got that pretty well under control. Witness yesterday's meeting, as I mentioned. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Yesterday I was coming out of the sea and I noticed a big ribbon of plastic racing away back down the shore from a receding wave, and I chased it back into the sea and dragged it out and put it in the dumpster. A little good deed. Next is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. For example, this job that is coming up, I recognize, and this is what I was talking about with my wife, I recognize the limits now of my capacity to deal with stress. The current position that I'm in, I'm at the top level of the worker bee mode, right? So the next level beyond where I am now in my position, there's 3 levels, you can think the old, apprentice, journeyman, whatever levels, but we just call them 1, 2s, and 3s. I'm a 3. The next level up is supervisor, and that's the position that's coming up. would be a lot more responsibility. I don't think I handle that responsibility well. It sinks in too deeply, and so I'm not going to apply for the job because I don't want to put myself or my wife back in that position of dealing with stressed out Kurt. It will mean it would be nice to have the extra income, especially to prepare ahead of retirement and have a nice nest egg, fatten that up, but not at the expense of the well-being of my wife and I. So I won't. I recognize the true limits. It's a true opportunity. No, it's not what it means by true opportunity. True opportunities are the things that are within your reach that you can do. So it's not an opportunity that I want to take because I recognize my limits. So I guess that's me, using this objective to good ends. To forego advancement for the sake of the peace and the harmony that Yumiko and I can now enjoy. And then lastly, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, as I'm doing right now. If it seems like I'm speaking in moderated, measured tones, carefully choosing my words, it's because I am doing that. I am carefully doing all of that. This is a deliberate effort. It becomes more natural over time, but I naturally am someone who speaks really quickly. I think fast and talk fast. And I find that when I do that, I stumble all over the place. It's like a sprinter going through hurdles and stumbling over every third or fourth one. I instead have trained myself and continue to work hard at it, to run more slowly, so that I can get over each hurdle without knocking it over, and in the end, do better overall. All right, those are my 7 objectives. Now, my 34 principles. And the principles are the means to the end of the objectives being met. So these are the tools that I use to ensure that my objectives can be reached. The first of these is the principle of war, which is my reminder to fight against ideas about truth, particularly the ones that I've already onboarded and believe in. So I need to ask myself over and over again and looking from different angles if it really is true, because I don't want to hold on to things that are not true. Number 2 is the principle of reason, which is the principle that I use which is the tool that I use to guide my thinking and to determine what is true and what is not true. And there are 4 sub-principles here: honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation, because I need to be honest with myself and others, objective in my view, a fierce skeptic, and then to always be willing to be grateful to discover that I'm wrong, even if it means I'm humiliated in some small way. Number 3 is the homunculus, the reminder that I don't have a soul. Nobody does. That's just a made-up idea. But I do have a consciousness, and I get to live with that for the remainder of my life. The next principle is the Anchorhold, the reminder that the homunculus, my consciousness, is stuck within me and won't get out. And when I die, it's dying with me. And that will be the end of me forever, never coming back. Next is the home of good and evil. Good and evil are not absolutes that pervade the universe, but they are just simply mere subjective opinions that we hold about what is right and wrong in the world and what to do. And so we need to work hard at it, because they are our own. We don't just learn them by reading a book or praying to a god. We have to figure them out for ourselves, and then work on them all of our lives. It's hard work to be good. Next comes the principle of purpose, the reason that I live and that I get up and I work hard every day. And I have 3 sub-purpose. The first of these is to be a good husband and father. Number 2 is to be a virtuous human being, where I define virtue as working and seeking to improve the well-being of thinking creatures. Number 3 is whatever personal purpose I choose for life, which for me is the sharing of my story in going alone and the resulting good life creed, which I'm doing right now. So making this video is probably the key element of fulfilling that purpose in my life. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming, including us. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's good to recognize what that nature is so that we can abide it better. Like it's the nature of opportunities, like new job opportunities, to be tempting and to be opportunities for advancement and improvement in every way. It's also for the nature of them to be venues into more difficult and challenging periods of life, which are appropriate if you're someone that wants that and is of an age that is able to handle that, of which I am neither. I have reached my sweet spot in my career, where I am right now. I really want this to be my last job that I have to do, because I do plan to work in retirement. Just what I'm going to do, I don't know. I would like to work in a job. We're going to retire in Japan, so I would like to work in a job where I have to speak Japanese, maybe work in a convenience store, something that I have to do where I can be with Japanese people who maybe don't speak English. I was jokingly telling a friend yesterday that maybe I could become a yakuza member, Gaijin yakuza. There's a title. Just a second. Imagine me, the Japanese I'd pick up in that regard, right? Smooth and measured tones. Okay, next is the pirate ride is the next principle. It's just a reminder that free will is an illusion. I don't think it's real. I think we are not pushed and prodded and nudged along in life by the universe at large. I don't think we have really much or any choice at all. The choices that we make that seem to be our own, are really influenced by everything happening around us. And then comes maturity is the principle. And there are three sub-principles: wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Maturity is that state that we arrive at when we wisely remember our past successes and failures, have the fortitude to do better, and then we can enjoy the integrity of a life in alignment with our values. Next comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. And our best ends are social ends. Our sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Because diplomacy is what we seek to do with one another as we work out our values together to create a city or a state or a government that seeks after justice. And then conspiracy is what we do when we link arms to make that happen. Next comes the principle of family, a simple reminder to create a family in life. It doesn't have to be the traditional nuclear family with a ring on your finger. It can be whatever family you want. But we need people. We need a connection. We need a circle. We need a group. We need somewhere to be home with others. And then the next principle is public speaking, a reminder to listen and speak and communicate carefully. The sub-principles here are best words, to develop a rich and deep vocabulary that we can use. Prudence, the ability to filter our communication through our values. Felicity, to basic flavor our communications with our emotions. Eloquence, the ability to speak really well or to write really well, which comes with practice and modeling. And then the two negatives are rumor and gossip. I try not to engage in either of those. Okay, next is temperance. And this is the first of 5 principles that go together. These are temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, and the feast of offal. Let's take them together. Temperance is what we do when we can control our consumption, control our actions, control everything, so that we can not overdo it. Life will not go well is a reminder that to expect life to have speed bumps. The horror show is a reminder that some of those speed bumps are potholes that go way deep over our heads, and it's terrible, really bad stuff. Like my new friend that I made at the beach, Angela, who has been diagnosed with cancer and is not taking treatment and will then therefore face down the end. She's going through the horror show, and I see her every night out there on the sand. And I try to be not empathetic. I can't be empathetic with. I don't know what that's like. I can be sympathetic, but you know what I mean, right? But I try to remind myself every day that the horror is coming for me too. It's coming for all of us, if it's not already here. Then the next principle after that is that which must be borne, B-O-R-N-E, carried. And what we have to carry is the fact of the horror show and that life will not go well. And then the Feast of Offal is a nasty practice of spewing out our upset onto others, and the bad habit of consuming the upset of others, like popcorn at a sporting venue. I try not to do either. I try to keep my upset within myself and find other ways to manage it without hurting others. And when others are losing their cool, I don't watch it like a spectator. I will give them their peace. And then when they're done, I'll offer them a tissue or a shoulder to cry on, or both. But we can be poisoned if we consume their upset to solace our own concerns, voyeuristically watching someone else's pain. It's kind of like keeping your mouth shut while filth is flying about, so you don't get poisoned, and then you're in good shape to help others, namely the person who is maybe spreading the poison around. All right, next comes the principle called distraction, which is what we do with all of the activities in our lives, including our careers and our families and our sports and our politics and our church and our God, so that we don't have to see the next principle, which is the great indifference, the deep emptiness of the universe, the uncaring, unwilled, unsentient cosmos, which pervades all, surrounds everything around us. We don't seem to have any overarching agency guiding us. We're alone with one another. That's what we don't want to see, because then it means that we don't have anybody looking after us and guiding things and pulling the strings, and there's no one to protect us and to keep us alive after we're dead. It's a scary thought. So we distract ourselves with all the other things. I try not to do that. I try to look at the great indifference. That's why on the cover of my book, it's a painting that my daughter made of the deep desert, the emptiness beyond. Because when I used to go to the desert, I would go and arrive at around sundown like that, and then march into the night without a flashlight until I was in the deep wilds, and I could perceive the nothing that never was. All right, next is the best seat in the house, to strive to always be okay with who I am and where I am and what I'm doing at all times, right here, right who, right how, well, all the while striving for better. Next comes 4 principles that go together. These are the restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, and the risk of avoiding risk. Taken together, the restless man or woman is that person who feels like the staid, steady life that lays before them is not for them, that they want something more. That's how I knew that my wife was the right choice for me, because when I met her all those 35, 36 years ago, when she couldn't speak English and I didn't speak Japanese, but we were able to peck out between us some communication to ascertain that she had come to America to have an adventure, and I was dreaming of Japan to have an adventure, and I realized our paths had crossed for the right reasons, that we were a match, and that was only solidified when I realized that our deep values were exactly aligned. That's how I knew I'd found my partner. So that restlessness if we don't do something about it, like Yumiko did. And I've told in other stories, in other videos, the story of how she bucked the trend and the tradition of where she was living to have that adventure. If we don't do that, then we live with the wondering all of our lives. And we may never quite satisfy that itch. And it's a risk because it'll get us later. It will haunt us all of our lives. But if we do it, then we step on the second principle. Well, we don't step on it, but we step onto what I call the path of wildness, which is the second principle. It's the way forward and into a new life, which is what Yumiko did as she left Japan to come to America, to a new world that she didn't really know much about, couldn't speak the language, and simply had to work really hard to get here, to have an adventure that then became the story of her life, her great life adventure, which is the third piece of that, right? So remember, it's the restless man or woman, the path of wildness, which is the way to discovery, that whatever it is that will assuage that restlessness. The great life adventure is the story that is yielded as a result. The last part is the risk of avoiding risk. If you don't do that, then you'll probably pay a price later in life as you wonder what you missed. But if you do it to excess, then you'll pay a price in that you'll never have built the career, the home, the family, and the security that are also valuable in life. It's a tricky thing to balance both of those. Yumiko and I have erred in our life on the adventure side a little too much. But in the last decade, we've kind of brought it back and recovered and got ourselves back stable. It was hard work getting there. It was kind of a lucky breaks to get to a point where we can be safe and secure in our old age. So it was like a little bit too much to say, and then pull it back the other way. All right, next is sin and damnation. In my worldview, there are 8 sins that I enumerate, and these relate not to sins against any God, because I don't believe in God. They are sins against well-being. These are: 1, falsity, being untrue; 2, credulity, believing things for bad reason; 3, faith, which is a believing thing for a bad reason. It's belief founded on belief because you just want to believe. That's nonsense. That's a terrible reason to believe. 4, superstition, a categorical area of nonsense belief. 5, dogma, belief based on tradition and maybe a big canonical text, and it's just the way we've always done stuff. Bad reason to believe. 6 is authority, belief based on the charisma, the speaking capability, or the authority, or the funny hat of someone that we respect. It's not a good reason to believe either. And then the last 2, 7 is rumors, spreading rumors. That's a bad thing to do. 8 is gossip, engaging in gossip. Awful, terrible thing to do, and I don't do it anymore. I've severely trained that one out of my life. Nasty. No. Engage in any of those 8 sins and we're damned in the here and now. Not in any afterlife, because I don't think there is any afterlife. All right, next is complete oblivion. That's the next principle. After we're dead, that's the absolute end of us, because we don't have a soul. There is no God. There's no heaven, no afterlife, no forever. And that means that we'll have no final reunion with the ones we love. No final reconciliation of if we part on poor terms, and no final justice, because there's no God, no heaven, no justice to met out. All of these things are only available to us in the brief span of time that we're alive. It's probably one of the reasons I don't waste any time. Right? I'm so concerned to make sure that I make good use of my days. And it's a difficult thing to squeeze, virtue and human connection out of 24 hours in good measure, without doing too much of one or the other. And fun too. It's hard to get that out of that too. Okay, so that was complete oblivion. Next is the principle called script writing, which I've talked a lot about already. Script writing is a trick that I use to write out the upcoming hours and minutes and days. Literally in my mind, I plan out how things are going to go. Like I'll plan out for finishing this video, typing it up, uploading it, reading the Bible, which I'll do after that. Then go over, feed the dogs, let them outside, or take them for a walk if they want. Fire up the computer, get ready for the day, and then I picture script writing. I have a lot of meetings today, but I have 2 tricky meetings today. I plan out in my mind how those meetings are going to go. They're positively finishing up what I need to do to prepare. It's astonishing practice. I can't believe it took me almost 60 years to figure that out. Thank you, Juan, for pointing me in this direction. I do it constantly throughout the day, and I've only had this principle for 2 weeks, and it's already revolutionized my life in so many ways. I use it on the weekends when I go out with my wife. We go shopping for clothes. I script write how I'm going to behave in the clothing store. Imagining myself having fun trying on clothes. And then what do you know? Lo and behold, I'm having fun trying on clothes, posting on Instagram with me walking down like a model of the thing. It's a powerful tool. Well, probably maybe the most powerful tool I've yet encountered. Other than, witnessing and recognizing the great indifference, which is the big one, because that's the key thing, right? Once you realize that there is no God, that you have no soul, that there is no forever, then, and it's all up to us to write our story of right and wrong and good and right and wrong and purpose. Then, when that sinks in, then you have to roll up your sleeves and do all the hard work. Okay, I'm almost done. The bullseye aim is next. A reminder that I can shoot for the mark, but I usually miss. And I put that deliberately after. Well, I put the principle of script writing immediately before the bullseye aim, because I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to write a script that it's going to go this way, but I need to remember that even though I write it that way, it might not go exactly that way. The bullseye aim suggests that it's like darts. Life's like darts. You throw a dart, and we don't get upset when we miss the target. We get happy when we hit the bullseye, right? That's how life should be, right? We should expect to miss the bullseye. That's normal. We should be delighted when we get it, but expect not to. But we can get close by practice. Uphill climb, that's the next principle. Life is, I want to finish today a little higher up the mountainside of life with a more expansive and comprehensive vista out before me. Arena and utility, that's next. Life is this arena where we can live our lives in pursuit of our objectives, and the principles that we have are like tools that we have, that we keep sharp and ready to use at a moment's notice. And I do that all the time, mainly through this exercise. 30 minutes plus a day, reciting my Good Life Creed, thinking about these things, writing them out, writing a whole damn book, 2 books about the whole thing, has created this paradigm in my mind that is how I live and think now. It's a lot, again, like I said, it's a lot of hard work, but it yields the result. It's much more work than just praying and hoping. It's thinking and performing and tuning a more active life. Okay, next is nothing is enough. A suggestion towards simplicity in all things. And lastly, the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time. Why not, right? What else if not to have a good time? So I do this. I remind myself to have fun today, to remember the fun of yesterday and beyond, and to enjoy the anticipation of the days to come. I found that some photos, I'm going to dig them out of, I'll do that today, and I'm going to put them on my desk. I'm going to have a little stack of photos. I'm going to sort through them and look through them throughout the day to remember the past. Keep a little pile right here on my work desk. Photos from the past. Memories of the happy memories of the times in the past. Difficult times too, but the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm going to plan for have fun today. I'm going to enjoy my job to the best of my ability. I'll enjoy my breaks, my break, 2 breaks, 2 20-minute breaks, and 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I have to remember to take those. Usually when I take those breaks, I'll sit here and I'll read my book. And I'll enjoy that. I'll enjoy lunch, my lunchtime walk with my wife, and I'll really enjoy my afternoon run, jog, 2-mile jog on the beach, and swim in the ocean before I come home and have a delicious dinner with my wife. And we watch our show and then go to bed. Squeezing another good day out of it before the horror arrives, because it's coming for us. Okay, the last thing I need to do now is plan out my day. I think I already kind of mentioned it, so I'll finish this, upload this, type it out, upload it, read the Bible, walk the dog, feed the dogs, let them outdoors or walk them, whichever they want. They haven't wanted to walk lately because it's cold. Then I'll fire up the computer, get that ready to go. I'll lay out my agenda for today, all the things I need to do today, including my meetings. I'll go to the meetings and I will execute those meetings successfully. And if they have some speed bumps, so be it. I'll work on those speed bumps, but I will succeed at these. I will communicate to my supervisor about that one meeting I mentioned yesterday, figure out what our next step is with that, and then I will go out and I'll take a nice break. I'll read a chapter here during that break. Then I'll take a nice walk with Yumiko. We'll talk about our trip. Maybe we need to find some place to stay on Izu. We got a couple days. We haven't reserved any place to stay yet. And then that's pretty much it. And just continue my work day. And then have a nice evening. I'm going to have a fun time on the beach tonight. I'm going to run. I can't wait to run. And I'll do my book signing too. And I will use the @everyone, as Michael suggested I should do. I didn't use that last night. If you see this, Michael, I didn't use that last night on Discord because I felt like I was being a nuisance. But since you mentioned it, I'll do it from now on. Every time I do a book reading, I'll do the @everyone. That's the key. Thank you for suggesting that, Michael. It's my damn Discord anyway, right? It is our Discord, but it's mine in terms I set it up so that I could be broadcast to people that gave a damn about the fact that I'm doing important things relative to this mission. And with that, I'll finish. And the dogs are ready. They're shaking. They're ready to do their thing. You ready to do it, huh? Okay. Just a second. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done. Take care. Oh, and good morning, Parker.